Hi, welcome to Life with the Spectrum. I'm Gina. I'm a broadcast professional and I'm also a mom. I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor, but I live life with the spectrum, and maybe you do too. So I thought that we would put together this journey that we could take together and offer up each other advice, encouragement, and get those hard to answer questions finally answered. Through the course of the show, we're going to take the journey together. So let me give you a little backstory on me. I have a son who is 9 years old on the spectrum. And a lot of people asked me for years, why aren't you doing something spectrum related? Why don't you have a show? Why don't you have a podcast? Enough already. And the reason I haven't, and the reason I've been so hesitant, is because I didn't want to exploit my child or my family. As we know, people who have challenges or disabilities are often neglected, abused, and exploited the most. So that's why I haven't done it. And then things kind of shifted gears in my brain, and I started thinking maybe, just maybe, there are other moms that are like me, that have been through the speech and the OT and the ABA, that are thinking what's to come. Why not create a group and a forum where we can all answer questions, especially for moms that are just noticing that something might be off with their babies. Maybe they're not hitting their milestones. I know that when Lyric didn't hit milestones, of course, we took him to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician said, you know what, we need to do a series of tests, the MRIs, the CAT scans, and rule out certain things. She then came back to us and said, you know what, I'm just letting you know that right about 4, we're going to go ahead and send you to get an official diagnosis. We think that your son's going to be on the spectrum. And we did. Thank you, Dr. Annalise Spies, the best person out in Colorado Springs, diagnosed our son. And when she did, she told us a couple of things. She said, Gina, he's going to drive a car. Gina, he's going to go to college. Gina, he's going to get married and have a great job. And so that made all of us feel a little bit better. But when we first, kind of digressing back to first noticing that our son wasn't hitting those milestones, what to do? Well, we had early intervention, and that is key. What did early intervention look like for us? Well, we had therapists in our house 3-4 times a week, speech, OT, PT, physical, just the list is endless. And my child was reading by the age of 2 because, well, speech and language go kind of in conjunction with reading. And so maybe that is something that you need to look at if you have a young one at home not hitting those milestones. All states offer some sort of early intervention program. I don't know exactly what it's called where you live, but in Colorado, it was called early intervention. I think in Georgia, it's Babies First or something. So you just have to hit Google, okay? But with that, we moved on from all the speech and language and OT and PT to then at 5 years old, we saw all of these behavioral issues starting to come out. Like where they came from, we don't know, but we had elopement issues. We had meltdowns. We had this, we had that. And then I was turned on to something called ABA. Oh, life changer, applied behavioral analysis. What does that therapy look like? Again, in your house, 3 or 4 times a week. And yes, there are services that you can take your child to have ABA therapy, but is it working? All those behaviors really happen at home. So to get that therapy in the house, for us, it was the right thing to do. For you, I don't know what your life looks like with the spectrum, but I know for us, having that ABA in the home, we were able to find out why they were doing the behavior and then able to correct that behavior. So that's huge. All in this journey comes going to school. And what does that look like? Well, your child will be on an IEP, an individual education program. And it is up to the parent, who is your child's biggest advocate and fan, to go in there and fight so that he or she has everything that any other child has an opportunity at school to do or be part of. But a lot of people don't get that, and sometimes feel like they're railroaded by schools and by teachers. And that's when you need an advocate. What is that? I know, I didn't know what it was. I was like, do I need one of those? And they were like, absolutely. So I got a hold of an advocate, and she ensured that my son had everything. pulled out for small group here, but challenged over here, bright over here, but he needs a little help over there. And they walked through that IEP meeting, and you know what? My son was better for it. And so was the school, because once you bring an advocate to school, I'm just saying, things change, okay? They know that you mean business, so it's well worth the money. But as I said, this journey that we're going to take together, we're going to bring on other moms. I mean, I kind of feel like I have a list of people already that I want to talk to, but maybe you have the questions. You can comment below. We'll have an entire Q&A section on these little episodes. Maybe you have someone that you think that I really need to speak with. Get me in touch with them. Put their name, their link, whatever, their social media, have them DM me. We can get in touch and we can put them on this program. Maybe you just have questions. Maybe you're another mom. We're going to talk to therapists. We're going to talk to people from public school. We're going to talk to people from private school. With that, like, we just switched our son to private school this year. A couple things about that. We were fortunate enough to live in an area that has a top 50 school for all ASD kids. And so it was kind of a no-brainer as the rubber hit the pavement in third grade that we kind of needed to do something. It was too rigorous there, even in small group. And then, kids, they get really crappy and they get mean and they start to bully. And I didn't want my son to have any part in that because he's just so sweet in the heart. So moving him to this type of school, there is like a 6-to-1 ratio with teachers. They teach to them, so they get that education. They get everything that a public school does, in fact, a little bit more. And because they're some of the brightest minds in the world, why would you hold them back if they're mathematical geniuses, but they can't really read? You kind of want to like push them forward here and kind of push them over here. And what I can tell you from personal experiences is all of the kids on the spectrum seem to rise to the occasion. But it goes a little bit deeper than this. And we're going to talk to therapists and, advocates and other moms and things. But I thought that maybe if you're working with someone who's on the spectrum, a little socially and emotionally off, maybe you see them at a table at a restaurant and you kind of think something's a little different, to try not to judge that person, to actually try to become their friend. Because what you're going to learn from them is like, poof. It's just mind-blowing. And we're going to learn this journey together. And again, I encourage you to comment below, reach out to me, GinaMarieFM@gmail.com. Put who you want me to talk to, put what you want me to talk about. Ask the questions. Let's answer the questions. Let's get this together, because as we grow and change as people, our kids grow and change, our young adults grow and change. And that's why we call it Life with the Spectrum. I'll see you again.